All right, so this time we're taking a deep dive into something, well, it's pretty messy.
Yeah.
You guys sent us a ton of articles about Tuface and Andy Idibia's separation, and it seems like the internet is losing its mind a little bit.
It's crazy, right? Like, it's fascinating how much this specific celebrity breakup has really struck a nerve with everybody.
Yeah.
There are think pieces and tweets and supportive posts, and even Tuface himself is getting on Instagram making these statements.
It's definitely not like your typical, just like a simple press release.
It's not the, what was it called? Consciously uncoupling?
Yeah, exactly. That's not at all.
What this is.
So before we get into all the details of everything that's going on, I'm really curious to get your take. Like, what about all of this is so intriguing to you?
You know what really stands out to me is that their whole story, from like the African Queen music video to all of their very public ups and downs, it's really become intertwined with like people's ideas about love and fame and relationships.
Oh, definitely.
It's almost like their story has become like our story in a way.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think especially, like African Queen, that's not just a song that's like an anthem.
Absolutely. It's a huge song.
To see that like fairy tale romance kind of potentially crumbling, I think is hitting people hard.
Yeah.
So let's start with Tuface's announcement.
Okay.
He confirmed the separation and that the divorce is coming in a now deleted Instagram post.
Oh, wow.
And then he made another video saying that he wasn't hacked and that he's actually going to hold a press conference to explain more.
Oh, wow.
What do you think about him choosing to be so public with all of this so fast?
I mean, it's definitely unconventional, especially for something as sensitive as this, the deleted post and then the follow-up video. It feels almost performative a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to control the narrative before it gets out of control.
Right. And while he's out there like putting out all these statements, Annie has been totally silent.
Interesting.
No cryptic posts or anything. Do you think her silence means something, or is it too early to tell?
Well, I think silence can be a really powerful form of communication.
Yeah.
Especially in a situation where every little word is going to be like analyzed.
I think that for sure.
So it could be her way of kind of taking back some control of the situation.
Okay.
And refusing to participate in a story that she doesn't really want to tell.
Interesting. So she's kind of being the author of her own story on her own terms.
Exactly.
But not everyone is staying quiet. Tuface is facing quite a bit of backlash for all these online announcements, especially from people like Cocaine Makinwa and Miraji. They're saying he's being insensitive and that he's potentially causing more harm to Annie.
Yeah, it's interesting because their criticism is more than just about like etiquette, Right. They're asking bigger questions about the responsibility that celebrities have towards their partners even during a breakup.
Especially when one Instagram post can just...
Yes, like a wildfire.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it just spreads so quickly.
Toki even pointed out that there were all these already negative stories about Annie.
Right.
And that Tuface basically just threw her to the wolves.
Oh, wow.
And Miraji argued that Annie deserves to heal in private, away from the public eye.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're saying, hey, you can't just drop a bomb and walk away like nothing happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
you're responsible.
And then we have Mary Njoku coming to Annie's defense, and she's not holding back.
Oh, wow.
She directly called out Tuface on Instagram, accusing him of humiliating Annie when she's at her lowest point.
Oh, wow.
And she even warned him that their silence, meaning hers and her friends, can break if they need to.
Oh, wow. That's
pretty intense.
Yeah, that's a strong stand.
It's like a whole other layer to this whole thing.
Right.
She also said that she's worried about Annie and that she has some questions for Tuface later. It seems like there's a whole other story here that we don't know about.
Right, like there's something else going on.
Right.
Yeah, and her choice of words is very deliberate.
Yeah.
By calling him out publicly, she's not just defending Annie.
Right.
She's shifting the power dynamic.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, we're watching you and we're not afraid to speak up.
Right.
And this kind of adds another layer to that African Queen connection.
Yes.
Annie was in that video.
Yeah.
And their love story kind of started from there.
It is, yeah.
And now we're seeing that whole narrative, that whole symbol of their romance get all tangled up with this messy public separation.
It's like the African Queen thing is taking on a whole new meaning now.
Yeah.
It's like the real life is overshadowing the fairy tale.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the big question, like, How are we supposed to handle this kind of public breakup?
Right.
As fans and as people who are just watching this?
Yeah, that's something worth exploring.
It is.
Especially as the line between public and private lives is getting blurrier and blurrier. Yeah. And that's something we can dig into in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Welcome back.
So we've been talking about all the details of what's going on with Tuface and Annie.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to zoom out a little.
Okay.
Because this isn't just about them, right?
Yeah.
There's stories happening on this big global stage, but it's also tapping into something much bigger.
Totally.
Than just celebrity gossip.
Absolutely. This fascination that we have with celebrity relationships, it's like a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
That goes way back, you know?
It does.
We're just drawn to these like seemingly glamorous lives. We want the love stories, the drama, a peek behind the curtain.
I know. A glimpse into that world.
Exactly.
But like we're seeing with Tuface and Annie, those curtains are like really thin.
Yeah.
Social media has just like amplified everything.
Yeah, it's turned up the volume for sure.
1 minute you're posting about your anniversary and the next minute you're breaking up in front of millions of people.
It's like this weird paradox, you know?
Yeah.
Celebrities, they need social media to connect with their fans, to build their brand. Of course. But it also leaves them so vulnerable.
Totally.
Especially in moments like this when things are tough.
It's a minefield out there.
Oh, it is.
And the speed that information spreads online is insane.
Yeah.
You make one little mistake, like one wrong post or comment.
Yeah.
And suddenly everyone's an expert on your relationship.
Like they know everything.
Like remember when Tuface deleted that first announcement?
Oh, yeah.
It just made everything worse.
It just fueled the fire. It's crazy.
It's a reminder that in this day and age, like everything you do online has real consequences.
Yeah. Anything you click or share or type out, it can have a huge impact.
And this doesn't just apply to celebrities.
No.
Think about all the couples who have had their problems aired out online.
Yeah, it's like we've forgotten that even in the digital world, there should be boundaries.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that a lot of the criticism of Tuface isn't just that he was insensitive.
Right.
It's that he broke like this unspoken social contract.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. We see these perfect couples online all the time.
Yeah.
Celebrities, influencers, even our own friends.
Yeah.
They're curating these perfect versions of their relationships.
Sure.
So it creates this expectation that even breakups should be handled gracefully with these carefully worded statements and mutual respect.
Right.
But real life isn't like that.
No, it's messy.
Exactly. It's messy. And Tuface's approach to this whole separation, it's very public, it's very raw.
It is.
And it feels kind of jarring in that context.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like breaking the mold.
Yeah. He's going against the grain.
Yeah.
And it's making people uncomfortable. And not necessarily because of what he's doing, but because of what it reveals about how fragile these perfect images that we see online really are.
Yeah.
You know?
That's deep.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of judging Tuface, we should be asking ourselves, why are we so invested in these perfect versions of love and heartbreak?
Absolutely.
Like, why are we buying into that?
And how can we create a space online where it's okay to be messy?
Yeah.
Where being vulnerable isn't seen as a weakness, and where we can have these honest conversations about relationships, even the ones that don't end with a happily ever after.
Right.
You know?
Because not every story ends that way.
Exactly.
So if social media is this double-edged sword, how do we use it in a way that's authentic but also responsible?
Right.
Especially when we're talking about something as personal as a breakup.
That's a tough question, but I think it starts by recognizing that the internet is just an extension of our real lives. It's not a separate thing.
Right.
So it's same values like empathy, respect, honesty. Those should apply online just as much as they do offline.
Treat others how you want to be treated.
Exactly.
Right.
Just because you can share something doesn't mean you should.
Oh, that's good.
And just because someone else is sharing their story,
it
doesn't mean we have the right to analyze it and dissect it without thinking about how our words might affect them.
Yeah, this whole conversation has made me rethink my whole approach to social media, honestly.
Really?
It's so easy to get caught up in the drama.
Yeah.
And to give advice that no one asked for and to judge people.
Right.
But maybe the most important thing is to just be mindful.
Absolutely.
Of what we're saying and doing online.
Yeah, mindful of our own words, mindful of the stories that we're consuming, and just mindful of the fact that behind every headline, every viral post, there are real people with real emotions.
Right.
You know?
This has been like a crash course in digital ethics.
It has.
But I also think it's a wake-up call for all of us to just be more aware of how we're interacting with each other online.
Yeah.
Celebrity or not.
For sure.
Do you have any final thoughts on that?
I think the key takeaway here is empathy.
Okay.
We've talked about boundaries and responsible sharing.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to remembering that there are real people on the other side of the screen.
Right.
People who are hurting, who are dealing with difficult emotions, who deserve our compassion even if we don't agree with their choices.
Yeah.
Okay,
welcome back for the last part of our deep dive. We've gone over all the drama and the social media frenzy.
Yeah.
And we've even thought about our own relationship with celebrity culture.
For sure.
But they say the show must go on.
It does.
For Tuface and Annie and for all of us watching this whole thing.
Yeah.
So, we can't predict what's going to happen to them.
Right.
But we can use what's happened as a way to start some really important conversations.
Absolutely.
About how we handle breakups in this crazy online world that we live in.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the future. What happens now?
Okay.
Obviously, Tuface and Annie will figure out the legal stuff and all that.
Right.
But I'm more curious about the emotional side of things.
Yeah.
How do you see this experience changing them moving forward?
Well, for Tuface, he's kind of facing a reckoning.
Yeah.
He's been called out for what he did, and whether he agrees with the criticism or not.
Right.
This whole thing has definitely put him in the spotlight.
For sure.
So it'll be interesting to see if this changes him,
Yeah.
if he grows from this and if his approach to relationships and public communication changes.
Right.
Yeah.
What about Annie? She's been quiet this whole time.
Right.
But silence can be really powerful.
It can.
Do you think she'll speak out eventually?
Maybe.
And if she does, what kind of impact could that have?
Well, we have to remember that Annie is an artist too.
Yeah.
She's an actress and a creative person. So it's totally possible that she'll use this experience in her work and tell her own story in her own way.
That's a good point.
And that could be really powerful, not just for her own healing, but for other people who have gone through something similar.
Right. It's like she's taking back her voice.
Yeah.
But not by posting on social media.
Right.
But through her art.
Right.
Which I think is way more impactful.
Definitely.
This whole thing has been like a lesson in how to behave online.
It has been.
But it's also a reminder that we all need to be more thoughtful.
Yes.
About how we treat each other online, whether we're celebrities or not.
For sure.
Any final thoughts on that?
I think the most important thing is empathy.
Okay.
We've talked about boundaries and being responsible, but it all comes down to remembering that there are real people behind the screens,
right?
People who are going through tough times, who deserve our compassion, even if we don't agree with them.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Tuface and Annie's separation, I'm honestly left feeling hopeful that they find peace and that we as a society can learn from this and create a kinder and more understanding world online.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course.
Until next time, remember to be kind, be mindful, and be the change you want to see in the world.
Absolutely.
Both online and offline. Please ensure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you next time.